All right, man. This is by far the most extreme side-by-side I've ever been up close to. So why don't you, first of all, tell me, because I'm really interested, how did you get here? What did you start with as an idea? And was the plan to go this far?
No, no, like any good project, it's got its stages. So this actually started off as a 2018 Lone Star Defender Max. I bought it stock. I think I put 33-inch tires on it, and we went from mild to wild. The initial idea or concept around the 6x6 was Can-Am was coming out with their own 6x6 model, and I had thought that it'd be really cool to have a four-door and have the 6x6 on there, and then have everything lifted with portals and big tires. And so the end result is what you're seeing here today. Quite the substantial rig. It is quite long.
It
It
is
is
long.
very high, and it's also a very capable machine as well.
Right on. So you just mentioned portals.
Yes,
You've got to have 6 of them.
we do. So we'll go over the gamut of parts on here. Most of what you're seeing in terms of the drivetrain and chassis and all that does come from Super ATV. They can really ship you anything from their warehouse to your front door and get you to this level. So we've got their new 8-inch GDP portal on here. I went with a 45% gear reduction just to help turn all 6 tires. I needed that extra torque.
And you make up for a little bit with the big.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Actually, this will do the same top speed as a regular Defender will because of the big tires and the portal reduction. So
Those portals are beautiful. I mean, the CNC machine cases, and they got to be tough.
they're incredibly tough. I'm yet to break a portal, and they're pretty well maintenance free. I change the oil about once or twice every season. Outside of that, I know there's a lot of kind of historical facts around portals not being reliable. They have been nothing but reliable for me on all 4 of my machines. So they're really good. We went with the Super ATV 6-inch lift on here as well, which is an incorporation of axles and A-arms and shocks. That's been tremendously helpful to get it up and out. And then really what we had done is spent a lot of time around bracing the frame and a lot of the parts to keep it really strong. So upgraded ball joints is a really big one. Tie rods is a really big one. We're going with really large axles on here. We went the Rhino 2.0s. So they've got the double plunge to allow you to articulate a little bit more. And then once you do that, you find your limitations of it. Then you're going to add things like axle straps so you don't get axle dropout. That's actually a very common practice in the US for rigs like this. So you can limit the sag of the suspension.
Stop you from overextending those axles and popping CVs.
Exactly, that's exactly correct. And then outside of that, we went with a custom flat deck. We'll have a walk back here.
Man.
Who
built that?
This is a work of art. This is actually built by a good fabricator friend of mine, Brennan. He has done a tremendous job putting this together. We actually took the frame of the 6x6 flat deck and we extended it and we strengthened it with steel. Everything's been welded together. We overlaid it with some nice checker plate aluminum, had it all custom bent, and then we rhino lined it for that extra effect. Now the cool part about this is not only does it look cool, it's actually functional as well. We've got 2 hydraulic rams under here. It can lift 2,000 pounds up this way.
You know, we were talking about the stock one the other day and about how if you loaded up the stock 6x6, there's no way to tip it. And then you get looking underneath and you see where you would put a ram, and it's so far back you'd have to have such a strong ram to lift it, but you've got 2.
We've done it. So ingenuity actually led us here. So there's actually a plow truck ram that lifts a plow truck up and down. So it can do 2,000 pounds. It works incredibly well. We added a speaker bar up here as well from our friends at Whiskey Throttle Off-Road. That actually flips out. So I pull a little pin, I can flip this all the way out and I can extend that all the way up.
Really?
Yeah, it's really cool. Outside of the portals, obviously we went with some EFX Moto Havocs. I really like this tire for this particular application. It does do a very good job at getting through the trail in some thick mud, but it's also a very light rotational mass.
Okay. So it's a lightweight, gigantic mud tire.
That's it. It's kind of silly to say, but they do a really, really good job of getting you through the trail, and it spins very easily on this.
So these are 42 by 8.5 by 24s. I have a set of 24s for my truck.
Yes.
And they don't look that cool.
That is correct. So we wanted to keep it functional. I definitely do mud bog this, but we also wanted to look really cool as well. And so we've gone with some nice little fuels here. I think these are the Fuel Tritons. And they stand up really well. Obviously they get some scratches and some dings being off-road, but they've held up really well. And a lot of that's the fact that the tire does do a good job of protecting the rim as you're circulating.
Is that an ATV rim?
That is actually a specific ATV rim, yes.
From Fuel?
Yep, Fuel,
Okay,
they offer
I did
them.
not
That
know
is
that.
correct.
And that is an actual specific off-road tire. That's not a tractor tire. That's meant for what you're doing with it.
That is 100% not a tractor
But it looks
tire.
like a tractor tire.
It is, yeah. Yeah, if you think of the lineage of ATV tires and kind of where they've come from, everything has come from 100-year-old technology around tractor tires because they work.
Wild. Now, I noticed something just by looking here. You have discs on the back, but there's no calipers.
Yes, that is correct. So this was actually, as I had mentioned, a 4x4 originally. We had gone to a 6x6 due to project timeline constraints and just getting the project punched out and ready. We did not have time to run calipers to the back. It is set up and ready to go. We just got to tee the fitting in there and off we go. It does stop quite well.
I'm just going to say, I can't imagine you really need them that
No,
that bad.
it's a slow crawler. It does stop extremely well though. We've got really extreme upgraded pads on here. So if you put your foot on that brake pedal, it will get you down from
Those
80
are
kilometers.
bigger discs too.
They are, and they do bite quite a bit. Yeah.
So I'm just looking under here, and so this is the 4-seat chassis extended?
No, it's not.
It's a stock one, but now I'm noticing that you're connecting the 6x6 section the same way they connected it on that one with those weird bolt throughs. Is that a factory 6x6 rear end?
100% correct, yes. So that is a factory 6x6 rear end, and you can see where it's been cut and extended right
Added,
here.
Yeah.
So we
To get
extended
you
it.
this distance.
Correct, to get the big tire in there. Outside of that, that is a bolt-on 6x6 rear end. You can buy them from Can-Am. If you wanted to do this to your 4x4, you would just need the transmission, the rear differential, the drive shaft, and the frame.
So is the rear differential different than a 4x4 rear differential?
It is, because the integrated transmission differential on both Mavericks and Defenders and Maverick Trails, they're integrated.
I
right?
see. Okay.
So we've kept that. That is the 6x6 transmission, which does have a gear reduction, so it does help turn these tires as well. And then we've got the transmission, that the 6x6 transmission has an output shaft to go into the rear differential.
So that rear differential isn't just the 4x4 rear differential.
No.
It's kind of its own part just for this
That
vehicle.
is actually a 6x6 differential.
Okay, interesting. And it's only for the 6x6.
It is only for the 6x6.
I was mistaken about that. I thought that was just basically this one moved back and then a new one put in the middle, but that's not how it works.
Not at all. Nope, not at all.
Wild.
And I don't know if you can see, but we obviously increased the power a little bit.
Well, it does say turbo on it.
It does say turbo. So why not do something all the way? So our friends over at Force Turbo gave us a call and said, we'd really like to run our turbo kit on your rig. We think it would be a particular good power adder. It sounds awesome. And sure enough, the fit and finish of that kit is phenomenal. We're running 5 PSI of boost, making roughly 85 horsepower. I know that doesn't sound like a lot.
At the wheels, though.
And that is at the wheels.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame.
That is, and the torque's probably somewhere around 200 foot-pounds of torque, which is quite high.
Wait. 85 horsepower and 200 foot-pounds of torque.
That is correct.
Those
yes.
numbers are not usually in that order, are they?
No, they are not. And that is all attributed to the gearing reduction, the transmission, the clutching of the Defender. They're really geared towards the low-end torque, which is why this was such a good candidate for doing a 6x6 build, being able to turn such big tires in so many of them.
Sure.
So again, running 5 PSI of boost. It's been incredibly awesome sounding kit, very reliable. There's been zero maintenance that I've had to do. And the best part is it's absolutely waterproof. We can sink this thing right up to about 8 feet and have no issues.
Cool. I mean, you got to figure with a vehicle like this, turbo guys got to love it because there's so much room under there for just whatever you want to do, right?
There is. We could go with a bigger turbo if we wanted to. We could increase the boost. Really, the world is your oyster in terms of what you want to do with this next. This is very much the entry level for what we're doing, but it's more than enough for this actual application.
Wild. Okay, now one thing I noticed, and I need you to explain to me why. Those are stock shocks.
They are.
So with all of the trickness going on here,
yes.
I half expected to see like King piggybacks or something. So explain to me why.
And you're not wrong. So stock suspension on the Defenders actually rides incredibly well, and we wanted to maintain that. That being said, this deck alone is about 1,500 pounds.
Okay.
And so in order to incorporate all that extra weight, we loved the actual strut compression, but we needed to beef up the shocks themselves. So these are custom shocks from us from S3. They're a little bit more heavy duty than ones you could buy off the shelf, certainly heavier duty than the Can-Am ones. And so it actually allows the rig to sit nice and level. It can take a quad up there like a Renegade or an Outlander, and it will compress only so slightly, and I haven't compromised any of the ride quality.
Interesting. It's very interesting. Wow. You know, when that first came out, I said, I'm pretty sure you could take that rear end and bolt it on anything just by looking at how it worked.
You can.
And you proved it that my theory was correct.
We did. So anybody can make a 6x6. Like I said, it's the frame, drive shaft, differential, and transmission. The beautiful part about Can-Am is they're moving into the genre of Lego blocks where everything fits together very nicely. And so it actually fit together very nicely. There was no custom splicing in the electronics. Everything plug and played. We had to do a couple extensions. Outside of that, really, we paid a lot of attention to the audio as well. This is
Yes, you did. You showed me earlier. That is ridiculous.
This is a very loud roof. This is an Audioforms level 5. We've actually spliced in on the side here some wake tower speakers. All encompassing, you'll get about 3,000 watts.
Well, that should be enough.
Certainly enough to blow out some eardrums and get some attention.
Is that a plastic roof?
So it's actually a fiberglass roof that's rhino-lined.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. And the roof alone weighs somewhere in the range of about 600 pounds.
With all the speakers and the amp.
Correct. All in, I estimate that this rig is somewhere around the 4,000 pound range.
2 tons.
Plus your riders.
Wow.
Yes.
All right. So we were talking a little earlier about winches.
Yes.
Now, I mean, obviously with a vehicle this big, you can't just run your average ATV winch.
Unfortunately.
But you went above and beyond, didn't you?
We did. I'm sure we've all been in that off-road scenario and situation where you're stuck and you're looking for a winch. I never wanted that to be my problem. I wanted winches on all corners of this thing, and we certainly went all out. So under the deck, completely welded to the frame itself, 100% secure, is a Super ATV 5,000 pound winch. That is the workhorse primarily for pulling.
This one?
That is correct.
Okay.
Everything, all the winches are operated on a wireless remote as well, so I can stand back and operate them. That is primarily ones for pulling other people out, so I don't have to turn around on a trail. Due to the size of the machine, it makes it really easy to get through, pull up, hook the winch, and yank them out. That is the workhorse for the rear end of the machine. If we move up to the deck here, you'll see just hiding behind this cooler, we do have a 17,500 pound mammoth winch. Those are for the situations where a regular winch just isn't cutting it.
Or if you need to just pull it right up off the ground and hang it from a
sometimes
tree.
people want to split their frames in half. So we're here to party. The premise behind this winch, to be honest, this cooler just clicks off, move it to the side, is to get the deck tilted. And if you've got a problem with an ATV or even a smaller side-by-side on the trail, I hook that winch to the front and I can winch them right up on the deck, pull the deck down, and we can go home.
That's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's handy.
Absolutely. And then moving on to the front, just to continue in fashion of winches, we have the stock winch that came with this machine. This is a 4,500 pound super winch. That one still does quite a bit of effort. And then when we really need to get ourselves out, we use this 9,500 pound
So
winch.
this is for pulling people up from the front. This is for pulling you out.
This is for pulling me out.
Right.
That is correct. And if we really get into a situation, we'll get both of these on a snatch block, and it's coming out with tires on it or not.
Wild.
Absolutely.
Does it have sway bars?
So we actually took the sway bars off of this particular component. Typically when you have portals, the sway bars limit your ability to articulate.
Yep.
So we wanted to actually have the limit straps take off the load on the suspension for the articulation.
Now,
What
these
it does
things
have,
here, though,
those are track bars.
yeah, I've seen them on off-road trucks before, but never on a side-by-side.
So when you get up this high, you actually become very weak in terms of your A-arms.
Yep.
And you can beef them up as much as you want. You can obviously get the best ball joints money can buy with Kellers up here. But you want to take out any articulation back and forward because that will wear your parts. So with track bars, it does just that. It stops the articulation back and forward, keeps it nice and rigid, particularly if you're going over a log or a large rock.
When you're hitting something in the front that's stopping the vehicle.
And as soon as you get any movement at all, it's going to wear and tear on your parts. That restricts all of the movement.
Well, and that's got to be amplified too by having portals that are causing even more leverage, right?
The leverage is what kills most machines that are up this high. And so if you can take out that leverage, you're going to do very well.
Wild. Is that a factory, or not a factory, but is that an aftermarket setup that you can buy, or is that something you made?
Actually, great question. So that is from Whiskey Throttle Off-Road. You can buy that. You got to tell them what your modifications are, your height, and he'll determine what your geometry is. And you'll be able to do that. Super ATV sells track bars as well. It's a very common thing in the South. They've been used quite successfully. I've even seen triangulated track bars coming out the front, off the rear, off the portal brackets, just to try and stiffen some of these machines up.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the number one thing whenever we've built a project or you see people build projects and they go super wide and super tall, eventually you just rip your A-arms off or destroy your ball joints, and it's because of that, right? All that extra
Absolutely.
pushing and pulling just wrecks everything.
To say that I haven't done that would be a lie. There is certainly learning curves to all of these machines, whether you drive them crazily or you drive them nice and easy. There is a point of failure when you get up nice and high with a lot of rotational mass sitting on the outside. So stiffening that frame is number one. It's something we spent a lot of time and attention on to make sure that this frame is as rigid as possible.
So any other major modifications, anything that you want to mention to us?
You know what?
I mean, you could go on all day, really.
I could. There's so much going on with this particular rig. I really love the fact that I have an enclosed cabin. Those doors are from Super ATV. The flip-out windshield's from Super ATV. Again, you can buy this for a 2-door Defender or a 4-door Defender. The fit and finish is amazing. I can keep the weather out, so I ride this rig in the wintertime, snowstorms. It's got heat inside the cabin as well. A little bit crazy, but keeping the elements out, keeping the riders happy. You know, my wife absolutely loves riding in this thing because she doesn't get dirty.
Yeah.
So.
Right on. Wicked, man. Well, first of all, good job.
Thank you.
And second of all, thanks for bringing it up and letting us look at it. But I think really what we need to do is
Ride it.
ride it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Let's go do that.
Let's do it.